Episode 27. Prepare for a marathon. Introducing Tom Cavendish on the BTS Creative Academy podcast. With me, your host, Martin Colton. Hello, good morning, Tom.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Yeah,
thank you for joining me.
No worries.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I know we've been enjoying all the technical kind of setup over the last few minutes.
Yes, we had.
We'll pretend we've just met now.
Exactly. Hi. Good morning, Tom.
Didn't see that. There we go.
But no, we had a moment there, didn't we, where the mics weren't working.
No, we bad-mouthed Apple, and then the computer did not like it.
No, so. We're gonna not work for you now. Yeah, don't talk badly.
But we've overpowered it. We've mastered technology.
We have. Well, you did. You came along with your new
with my plug
fancy cable and said try this and it works.
Now we're like cooking on gas or whatever.
Exactly. So we're rolling. We're going.
Rolling. Cool.
Yes. So I got in touch with you because we share an acting agent, Flat 50 Management, and So hello, Flat 50 Management. We're here together.
Here we are.
Having a conversation about our acting lives. Let's find out what's going on in Tom's world at the moment.
So I'm newly having returned to acting. It was something I was doing a lot more of 9 years ago, and I joined the army when I was 22. But I'm now super old. I'm in my 30s. Right. I'm 30.
Okay. Well, I'm nearing 40, so I'm old. If you're super old, I'm incredibly old.
Now that I'm 30, I do say, like, if people are like, oh, you're in your 30s. I was like, well, I'm basically 29. Yes. So I'm basically in my 20s. So I'm a teenager. But no, I left the army a few months ago.
Oh, okay.
And am now delving back into
a different. Well, that's quite a different thing to be doing.
I think I don't know. Like I think at the time maybe I think I joined the army, and part of me was trying to almost like spite a mate of mine who was an actor mate who really didn't like the military. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to do that. And then actually maybe a year or a bit ago, someone in the army was like complaining about actors and that, and I was like, screw it, I'm going to leave and do that. So being motivated and empowered by like spite and vengeance and pettiness, I think, are very, very powerful things.
Yeah, what more powerful things to get you going into this industry? That's only going to get worse.
Oh, that's it. But no, I think I sound like a really bitter, horrible person. But that's just how I did a 100k ultramarathon last week.
Right.
I don't like running. I don't enjoy it at all. But someone I don't particularly like had also signed up for it, so I was like, "Well, I'm just going to do it."
I've got to be better than
that
them.
Person. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then I was in a little duo with someone going along, and we were very team. Like whenever they got a bit ahead of me, I was like, "No, we're a team. We're going to finish this together." Till the last 100 meters, I was like, "No, pettiness. I'm gonna go over."
So you're very competitive.
That's a more constructive, healthy way of looking at it. Yeah. Healthy.
So that's one thing that could help you going into this acting profession, being competitive, because you're gonna be going up against a lot of people.
Yeah, a
lot of similar people as well. When we had a brief chat on text message, you said you're a white male actor in his 30s in London. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's not there's no beating around the bush. You don't want to be exactly the same as someone else. Anyone who is in your same casting pool is potentially going for the same kind of jobs as you. And I'm just very, very average.
Yes. So you got to push yourself that bit further.
I did find out as a fact the other day, not just banging on about being 30, but that apparently that's the most common age in the world. Like there are more people aged 30 than there are any other age. So I am.
So what does that mean? You die at 31?
Well, I think there are just more. Some people die when they're older. Some people die when they're kids. But as an average, 30 is
where most people are.
I am at my most average age and position in life at the moment.
So cool. Being competitive, being someone that you're able to push yourself forward is really important at this time. And so longevity, you've got to find a way to keep that going.
Sure. And
moving forward.
I think something that I've probably picked up in the military and through, I do a lot of like outdoor adventure sports and things like that, is just mental resilience as well. Because I've got quite a few actor mates at the moment who have either returned to it or just finished drama school or whatever and are at the I was trying to use some fancy word like antithesis or something. I don't know. The beginning,
I know
the beginning of their
Yeah,
career,
yeah, yeah.
and they are already finding that like they might have had a vision that it was going to be I go out the door, bang, 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 audition, cast, here you go, constantly. And it's not like that, especially at the moment with strikes. COVID still
still affected
being a
the
thing.
business.
Yeah. It's a difficult time anyway. And some people are, some of my mates are like, oh, well, I've tried for 6 months, 9 months, not working out. I'm going to have to think of something else. And I think I definitely believe in, you've got to commit time to things for anything. And there have been times in my previous career where I've felt not that things were stagnating, but where things would be slow, and that you've just got to kind of commit to the grind and the grizz, which can be at times, I guess, in a physical sense, like 100-kilometer race, not fun, but you've just got to commit to it. I think acting it's probably a good comparison that it's a long distance run. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
So that mental resilience and commitment to stay at something is definitely something I feel a bit more comfortable with than I think some people who were maybe a bit more idealist right at the start, hoping that there'd be the next big thing.
Where take me back to the beginning then. Where does that kind of philosophy come from then? Is that something that you started to find when you was back at school?
Good question. I try to be reflective and think about these things, but I think it might even come because there's definitely a competitive element to it, and I think I wasn't super fit when I was at school, and I think when you're a kid, I was in an all boys school, fitness is a really kind of easy key indicator and element of competition. And I wasn't super fit. I am now, obviously, but I wasn't super fit. So when it came to I think track and running, I was never winning any sprints or whatever. But when it came to long distance running, for someone who said they don't like running, I've brought everything back
to running.
I hate running. I hate it. But
it's a really good comparison.
Yeah, but it's something I can. But I realised very early on, I think with running, that you could. Anyone of average fitness can complete a marathon, a long distance run, or whatever. But you've got to commit the time to it, and you've just got to kind of get your head down. Just go along with it. And I think I did that at school. I started doing a bit of cross country, started doing some of the longer distance races that were probably a bit, the fitter people were like, I'm not going to spend an hour running. It's boring. So I was like, well, I'll do this. And I think it helped me create a mindset of actually, I can get things done. I can achieve things through just committing to doing it. And once beginning something, saying I'm not going to give up when it gets hard. I'm not going to just stop when it gets uncomfortable, but being, I guess, comfortable being uncomfortable and seeing things through to the end. And that's probably a philosophy that I've kept through my military career, and that it's probably I'm applying to acting at the moment.
So before the military, then was there acting before military?
There was a bit, yeah. I did drama at university, and I did a few acting jobs in my late teens, early 20s, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I think I branched away from it. It wasn't all just to spite a mate. It was something I thought it would be cool to explore while I was younger. Like the acting is always going to be there, and has always been something I was looking forward to doing, and something I always intended to get back into. I just thought I'd do something for a few years. I think it started off actually in my mind almost like a post-uni kind of gap year idea. Like I'll do it for 3 years, and then I just stayed for a bit longer.
You'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because the military was, the RAF was a path that I wanted to go into prior to finding acting. And then once I'd found acting, there was no taking me away from it. And the military thing, I kind of realised going into the RAF, that was all kind of me play acting. And I enjoyed when I was in the Air Cadets, and I enjoyed acting as a cadet, as someone in the RAF, doing all that stuff. And it was all like, Oh, it's more the fantasy of that rather than the
Yeah.
reality of it.
And I think there's a lot of that. It's definitely a job where you're putting on a persona a lot of the time, and having to, because it's one of those jobs, those vocational jobs that everyone has an image of what it is, and kind of as a kid, when you're thinking about the kind of jobs I want to do, no one's thinking about I want to be a lawyer or an investment banker or all that. They're thinking army, doctor, fireman, and that. So you have an image of what it is. Isn't always exactly that, but you can create in your mind that I am Top Gun. I am this. I'm Rambo. I'm these things. So there's definitely an element of that, and by being able to act and present the right image can actually be quite helpful times. If you don't know what you're doing and you're in charge of a team of people, and you don't really want to put on a face of, I really don't know what we're going to do. I think we're going to be lost. We're going to be screwed. We don't know what's happening. So actually being able to act that I know what's going on. Everything's going to be cool.
Act the part within life. So you took some of the skills from acting into the military.
For sure. And I know a couple of guys in a similar position to where you were, who were maybe looking at the military and did branch out to acting instead. And often we think of them as very different careers. You think of army people, very suspicious of artistic people, and like artsy people, very suspicious of the military. But actually, the core values of what you need and look for in those careers are quite similar. I think you're people who are motivated. Firstly, probably not by money. They're people that want to do a job they're passionate about. People that want to be on their feet, don't mind a bit of uncertainty, working with people, doing something that isn't a desk job. And sometimes it's just whichever, like the army or the RAF or acting can deliver both of those. It's just whichever one you're perhaps more exposed to or more comfortable with will be the route you go down. But the essence of what motivates you to do those things can be quite similar.
So tell me more about when you came out of the army then, and you decided to go into following this path of acting now.
So I don't think I really knew many actors, or I didn't think I knew many actors at the time when I left. So an important step for me was re-establishing and kind of digging out mentors and people who I knew in the past to get a good idea of what to do, because it can be so easy to just Google what do I need to do to be an actor? What's the next step? And whilst there's loads of advice on the internet, a lot of it is by goodness knows who, or it's out of date, or just not the most useful. So one of the first steps was trying to get good advice from people.
Okay.
And I'm lucky. I'm quite good mates with him now, but I got in touch with someone who he'd actually been in the army years ago, but had been acting ever since. And a friend of mine in the army was like, you should talk to him. And he was a really good source of knowledge and quite a good grounding presence to be like, this is good, this is bad, you should aim to do this, these are the steps that you need to kind of do. And I think having someone or multiple people that you can bounce ideas off who have done it is useful, because I'm by no means an expert now of what to do, but when I see other people starting off their careers and they're being a bit idealistic and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm like, that's exactly what so-and-so told me not to do. And I see it's not working for you. So having a voice of experience has been
Would you say that person became a bit of a mentor to you?
To an extent, yeah. And they're also someone I trust their opinions. They're quite pragmatic, but honest. So when they tell me something, I don't think, oh no, you're just saying it. I'm like, okay, that I might not like what you're saying, but actually that's good. And then going to acting classes as well, and realizing that like any other muscle or skill, you need to constantly be honing it. Someone compared it to if you were a competitive bodybuilder going on stage for men's physique competitions, you wouldn't do it once, win a competition, then never go to the gym ever again, and a couple of years later being like, I'm just going to enter that competition. Why has it not worked out? Like as an actor, you get some people who finish their training and like, I'm trained now. That's me done. But they don't do anything to hone their craft after that. I think you've got to constantly be working that muscle and getting more comfortable and building your skill set. So I'm doing a lot of classes at the moment, which I'm enjoying.
Yeah,
and
good.
That's something when there have been times that I've thought, what am I doing? Is this really, is there longevity in this? And I see friends of mine who have left the military and gone to work for big finance firms and consultancy companies that are earning big money. And I'm like, oh, look how comfortable their lives are. Why don't I go and do that? I'll then be back in the studio or in a theatre doing workshops or auditioning or even doing self-tapes and finding real peace in doing those and thinking, actually, I'm not, obviously it's great to pay the bills, like no one wants to be struggling, but I was never motivated by being super rich. Being in that creative space is something that I really do enjoy, and finding opportunities to remind myself of that regularly has been really, really important.
Definitely. And it's it really is an important thing to find peace and happiness with whatever you're doing. But that's something that I do keep in conversations with actors coming up quite a lot, is paying the bills can be difficult. So how do you pay the bills, if you don't mind?
So,
how do you live day to day being an actor?
So I'm temping at the moment in London. I'm very lucky, but by being based in London, there's always work out there if you know what skill sets you can bring and what you want to do. So I'm temping as an assistant in a couple of different private equity firms. So mostly at the same one or two. And it's great that there is a level of flexibility there, that if I do need to disappear for an audition or for a project, I can. But then if I can't then go back to that firm because they've then filled that job or whatever, the temp agency will find me another one.
And doing a job like that may be something you don't necessarily enjoy, but you get so much from doing the acting that it's worth doing the temping work. It's like a sacrifice in a way, isn't it?
Yeah,
for your
and
art?
Whilst it's not, I probably wouldn't be looking at doing that job if it wasn't for acting. I'd pursue something else potentially. It's it does keep me engaged enough. I didn't really know that temping was an option when I was younger, and I kind of thought that it's a bit of a romantic image of like, I work in a coffee shop, I work in a bar, and I'll be that struggling actor just talking about like, I've got an audition coming up. It's all going to go uphill for me soon.
Yes. Yeah.
But then a friend of mine who isn't an actor, but she was temping just while looking for a permanent job, recommended, why don't you do this? Lots of actors are temping, or not just actors, but dancers, creatives, whatever. And I looked into that and was like, actually, this is something that I can at least feel like I'm doing a bit of a grown-up job. Like I'll dress up a little bit corporately, go into central London, be in an office, and it feels like even if I'm not an actor, this is still a legitimate job, and I feel like actually I'm a grown-up being put to use.
Yeah, and you can support yourself.
Exactly that.
Yes,
yeah. And just being able to look at yourself and think. And I know I use the term like grown-up job. Like it's lots of my mates who, when I was like, oh, I'm going back to acting, they were like, oh, it's going to be like being a teenager again. You're going to have to be doing a part-time job in, I don't know, the local Starbucks or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
But actually, I feel like I am an adult with an adult job. So from a dignity point of view, I can also find peace in that. Yeah, it's paying the bills, but also it's not. It doesn't feel like I'm being underutilized. And I think I like to be busy, and that's a big thing for me. I've got a couple of mates, and it's always these a couple of mates who they're a bit rich and they've got a bit of family money and they're acting and they're they don't necessarily need to have a side job because they've already got a house or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Great from a security point of view, but I think I like to be busy. I like to be working, and I would hate to be in a position. I say that now. If I was offered the chance to be rich tomorrow, I'd jump at it. But
Of course, yeah.
I'd hate to be in a position where I was just complacent, just sat there, kind of like, don't need to worry about things, and being motivated by the need to pay the bills, etc. is quite a powerful thing. Like I need to get up, I need to go to work. Gets you into a good routine, and it also helps harden that or hone that skill set of the hustle and the grind of like, it's not just something to take for granted. If I don't go to work, the bills won't pay themselves. And
so how many years have you been in this hustle and grind for? Since coming out of the military, how many years have you been doing this?
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
Yeah,
so you're really early stages.
Yeah. So
I
officially my last day in the army was only a few months ago.
Right.
But I'd stacked up a lot of leave in my last couple of years in the army that I hadn't taken, that I'd rolled over.
Yeah.
And I'd said like, everyone knew I was on my way out. So when carrying leave over, they were like, we know you're going to be anyway, so we'll let you carry it all over.
Okay. So you've got a good positive mindset at the moment, looking forward.
I think so. Yeah.
It sounds like it. It sounds like you've got a really great mindset going forward. Have you got any plans of how you're going to keep that positive mindset, where you are going to when you start coming up to the auditions and they start saying no?
Well, that's been the thing. I've been really lucky that in terms of auditions and it's mainly been self tapes.
Yes, yeah. That is the industry,
and that's how it is now.
Yes,
yeah, it's been kind of like about one a week, and in a good week,
that's good.
One or two. Every now and again, there've been callbacks or like, oh, you're into the final couple, or final 3 or 4 or whatever. So it's not a matter of like I'm completely barking up the wrong tree or whatever. But more of them are rejections or nothing than aren't. Which is the case for everyone. And at first, like the very first one I had, I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like I'm going to get this. Didn't happen. I felt a bit bummed by it. I was like, okay. Then a few more things popped up. And there was definitely a moment where I did think I've done however many, like this is like my 15th thing, and nothing has come of it. What's the point? But however I found it, I just think convincing myself, well, rejection is a thing, and then actually reading online other people's experience was quite a validating thing, because loads of people were like, oh yeah, it's like I only get called back for every 1 in 20 things or more that I do, and being like, okay, I'm not being precious. This is an experience people have, and I like the process. I think there's, like I said, enjoying going to workshops and going to classes and going to and going to not just relying on being sat at home doing self-tapes, but going into creative spaces and working with creative people.
Definitely
reminds me that even if it's the reason I do it isn't because I'm just chasing that one role that may be a great opportunity. I do enjoy the process of being an actor. And there, a couple of weeks ago, I was in a workshop in London. We're all sat in a circle and people taking it in turns to do a piece and get a bit of feedback. And I was just sat there and looking around, and I was like, I really enjoy this. There was no tangible kind of output or result from that. It wasn't an audition for anything. It was just working on. It was just a class, but I was like, this is an environment that I really enjoy being in. I like being in the presence of these people. I like the energy and the creative atmosphere, and that's why I do this. And I know some people who never are looking at acting as a career, but they just do their amateur dramatics or drama classes or local whatever, and there's clearly something that people get from that, and I enjoy that energy.
Good. Because that is a huge part of it. The training, if we're going back to the comparison of the training as like an athlete, the training as an actor will be the majority of any actor's life.
Of course, yeah.
So if you don't find enjoyment and peace and happiness within that, waiting for it within that one job, it's very hard to find.
And I think understanding that you're not special is something you've got to accept, because I'm sure we've all met actors who think, and some of them are good, but they think they are the best, most unique thing in the world. But understanding that if you get turned down for something, it's not something personal. It's just there was someone better, and that's definitely something that's a skill I definitely learned from my career in the military. That there were times when so in the army you as an officer, you'll often move around different jobs. You'll be here for 2 years, here forever. And sometimes I'd be in a place where I'd look around, I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm the most talented person in this group. I'm the fittest, I'm the smartest, I'm whatever. But the army is an enormous organization, and there are some really high performance people within the military, people who are super geniuses, super fit, however their brain has been put together, they just deliver and perform to an exceptional standard. And every now and again I would work with those people, and it's very humbling that I come from one environment being like, I'm the best. Then suddenly I'm up against these people, and I'm like, oh my word, I could never work at the level and produce the output that these people are doing. And it's great that they're there, and I'm happy for them. It's great to be part of an organization that employs such kind of top performing people. But understanding that you don't need to be the best, always try to be your best and be the best that you can be, but being comfortable and happy that there are people who are better than you. And what a great role model to try and aspire to be more like. Yeah,
aspire. That's a great thing to look for, isn't it? A great thing that you're putting yourself in these environments where there are going to be people better than you. You can go, oh, I'd like to be like that.
And that's something that I'm finding in acting now. I think if I was a bit more immature, and maybe when I was younger, if I was ever in an acting class and there was someone who was just like better than everyone, I'd be thinking in my mind, like irrationally kind of planting all these things on them, being like, I bet they're really smug, I bet they're a bad person, oh, they're not that good, they just think. But now when I see someone who's really, really good, I'm like, okay, what is it that, how are they able to tap into this in a way that the rest of us aren't? And being able to identify examples of that's what fantastic looks like. How can I be fantastic? Which is another motivator for getting out of the house and doing your self tapes and getting into the creative environment.
And that's a great motivator for me doing this actually, is to sit down with people and find out what makes them great.
Yeah.
What is and start to be a bit more curious. Yeah. About people and their art and why they're doing it and how they're doing it, rather than sitting back and going, I'm jealous that you're good at this.
It's I think the face-to-face thing really adds to it as well. When I started earlier this year, I thought, because in my mind I had this idea of, because all my acting before had been way pre-COVID, where auditions were all going to be face-to-face, and then I was like, oh, everything's virtual now, everything's self-tapes, and I thought in my mind, like, that sounds great, much more convenient, and it is. It's much. You don't need to. It means if you do have a side job, you can just commit to that in your day and do your self tapes in the evening. You don't need to. Oh no, I've got to time my lunch break so I can get to wherever to audition. But sometimes I'd hear people complaining about it, being like, "Oh, I miss the face to face," and I didn't get it at first. I was like, "Who cares? It's convenient this way." But then there is something nice, something.
Well, the human connection doesn't connect for a self-tape. No. I hugely miss the face-to-face auditions. I've done, since COVID, I've only done one face-to-face audition. Whereas there was a part in my life where I was doing 2 a week face-to-face auditions.
Oh, really? Yeah.
For a good year, like 2-3 a week face-to-face auditions.
Were you doing many self-tapes before?
No, COVID? This was... So I've been... From about my early 20s, so I've been trying to be an actor, get professional acting work on and off for 20 years, And some periods within that, I'd have proper jobs, full-time jobs and temp work and all different things and running my own businesses. But there were some periods of time where I'd dedicate a whole year to it and go out there and go to auditions. And self-tapes only really started to creep in a year or two prior to COVID.
Oh, did they?
And they were creeping in.
And COVID really
COVID
kick-started everything.
COVID forced the issue to happen. And
I guess the same with meetings, like in the corporate world. There's always been video calls,
but it hasn't been. But it was never like a force. Like that's the best option. And I would often be spending out all this money to travel into London and not getting the jobs, and my bank balance is getting lower and lower and lower because the money that I'm putting in to go to auditions. Yeah. And I'd be thinking, wouldn't it be better if I could just send in a tape of me doing it? But now it's the other way around. I'm desperate for it to go back the other way because you don't get that human connection. You don't get that opportunity for reflection and change and finding out what the casting director is looking for or the director is looking for. You've
got to back yourself when you do a self-tape that this is how
this is it.
And it's so easy that, because I guess in a face-to-face one, you might get some feedback of great, but you know what, if you just do it, I want to see you do it like this.
Or just take a breath and start again, and
or even be able to look at someone's face and there's a bit of an eye roll and you're like, I've clearly not got this right.
Yes, exactly.
But with self-tapes, when they've got, and they can obviously take a lot more self-tapes in, rather than perhaps tweaking or giving direction to each one, they can actually be like, well, actually this one, and this one got it spot on, disregard the other ones because you've already got it there.
I think the self-tapes are beneficial to the casting director, where they could see 1,000 faces in a day rather than 100.
Yeah, and potentially don't need to hire out a venue.
The cost of hiring out the venue and there's a lot of time management there. But finding, I'm curious from their point of view if they're finding the right artist for the job, because it is still early days of them experimenting with it. But from an actor's point of view, I really miss that, being in the room with them and having that, going in there if you've prepared something, or even if you're reading something off a page, and them just having a chat with you and saying, do that again, but slow down. Yeah. Or do that again, and could you do it with a different accent? You know, that opportunity is gone.
And I think anyone working in the creative fields as well does it because they enjoy people. Like you don't really get introverts don't become actors, I guess. Like actors want to be around people, and it's
that's a huge part of it as well, is discovering who the person is. I don't believe you can discover who the person is through a tape.
And I think personality is such a powerful thing. Like I think if you want to work with someone who's, I've always found this, not just acting, just regardless of where it is, like if you get on with someone and you know, I trust this person, they're good to be around, they're a positive presence, all round person I enjoy being around and working with. They could be 90% there in terms of what they're doing, but you know that you'll enjoy and be able to work with them. Whereas you could have someone who's 100% there, but a bit toxic or a bit lazy, or you just don't click with them. I don't think you get those. You can't pick up on all those from a self-tape.
You can't. I think all they're having is an opportunity to see 1,000 rather than 100. Yeah, I think that's the only opportunity, that the benefit. I think it's slowly creeping back in, that face-to-face thing. I have heard of people going into the audition room more often now than what it was, and I do hope it comes back a lot stronger. But yeah, that is one of the biggest challenges for an actor right now, is getting that self-tape down in the right way as well, because there's definitely a technique to that.
I think there's
definitely even a technique to the way that you start on the first seconds of the video. How do you say, hello, my name is Martin, this is my self-tape? Yeah. Like, that is really important, because they could switch off if you do that bit wrong and not even watch the audition. Yeah.
I've had a couple where they're receiving it through, they're like, this is what we need for your self-tape, drop it off at this Dropbox type link. and I've made a really I've put a lot of effort into the introduction and the this is me, blah 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 blah, and then answering any questions they've got on with the self-tape and cut it together so it's all very very shiny looking, etc. And then when I follow the link onto the Dropbox, they're like, oh no, just put the introduction into this folder and then put the main video into the other. And I'm like, they might not even look at that one. I mean, they're probably more focused on the actual tape in the end, which I guess is good. It means they're not going to get put off by
the intro.
Yeah,
there could be.
Oh, he's from Twickenham. Oh,
yeah,
but it does. It can almost suck the wind out of your sails when you're like, I've made it. It's a thing of beauty. No self-tape has been like this before. With this, it's the best thing ever. And then it's very much dictated afterwards. No, we don't want it like that.
Going back prior to COVID, I'm getting loads of flashback memories now. When first tapes first started, you would sometimes post them up to YouTube and send a private link.
Really?
But you'd see that they'd go into it because you get the analytics.
Yeah.
And you'd look at the analytics and you'd see that they'd only looked.
You could see where they tuned out.
You could see where they'd tuned out. So you could see that they'd literally looked at it for 2 or 3 seconds and come out. And I guess that is it. If they've got 1,000 people, they can literally go, do you sound quite right? Or look, I'll look at you later, or I'll discard you.
Yeah.
You won't even go past that. So you've got to really grab that.
It's a dilemma. A friend of mine was saying that he has an American accent because he's American. In fact, I say he's American. He went to an international school, so he's got that slightly American twang.
Right.
But he can put on a perfectly convincing RP Southeast England accent, which is what a lot of the roles, because he's based in London, do ask for. But he's got a bit of a dilemma now when he's doing the introduction to the self-tapes. He's like, do I just comfortably be in my American accent, hi, this is me, blah, 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 then into the self-tape in his perfect accent, whereas actually someone might be like, we said we want an English person, don't bother watching. He's now, the acting is starting right at the beginning. Don't even give them a hint that I don't have an RP accent all the way through. And he's putting on a bit of a, performing through the introduction.
And I would often take that into the room as well. When I was going into the room to audition, I would often go into the room as the part.
Okay.
As much as I could, even to the extent of how I dressed that day. So obviously you can't dress period for a period piece, or
I think I've seen someone who does, but yeah.
But you could to some extent wear a shirt and
capture the essence
of that. Or for some reason in my 20s I got a lot of audition for football hooligan type roles.
I can see that,
and that just through my 20s it just seemed to be every other audition was for that kind of thing. But so I'd go, I'm not into football, but I bought a football shirt to turn up in the audition, so I looked like that type of person, and it did work out for me a couple of times.
Because I guess that's what they're looking for is, can I see this person?
Yes.
And even with, you say the period pieces, if you're wearing a button-up shirt or something that can capture an essence of a Victorian dude, as opposed to
wearing a football shirt for that audition.
Exactly, because then they'll be like, okay, I can see him as this, but could I see him? There's I remember reading about, it's not quite the same for auditioning, but Christian Bale, who is a British actor, I think he's from Pembroke, maybe Wales or something. When he was doing all of the rounds for Batman, once the first Batman film had been done, but he was the press conferences, a lot of journalists were reacting quite confused when they're like, but Batman is an American. Why have you got this English accent or Welsh accent? So his team were like, if you can just put on the Bruce Wayne accent for the first round of interviews,
so that people get used to you. Yeah.
Because then I think once you know, and maybe this does lend itself into a selfie, once you know that, okay, this is his real accent, when they start putting on an accent for the audition, you're then looking out for discrepancies. Whereas actually, if you assume someone's English or whatever, or American, whichever way around it's going to be at the beginning, and you just accept that that's how they sound, you're probably not looking out for any issues when you hear the piece. You might be, that's just how they pronounce that word, rather than, what? Oh wait, it's because he's not got a perfect accent.
Yeah, no, there's some really great advice in there. I think some really great. Is this industry? You do have to kind of play a game. and you do have to figure out how the other people within the industry are thinking and working.
Yeah. And avoid perhaps just an irrational red flag for them.
Because it could be you could be up against just one other person.
Yeah.
And that one other person just looks right in those clothes that day.
Yeah, and anything that can get rid of that little doubt in that casting director's mind that maybe not. You don't even want the maybe not. You just want them to think, okay, it's them.
Yeah, great. And so tell me a little bit more about the other training that you do then. So you were saying about the workshops?
Yeah, so I try to do, there's one series of classes I go to quite regularly, and the tutor for that is really great. He's another good, I guess, role model in the profession, and someone who I trust and actually gives quite good feedback. It's not just I've seen him be pretty ruthless with some people, being like, why you even think about this profession? Do you even have it in you? Like he'll call you out if you're not committing to it. But then independently, aside from that, I try to go to a lot of casting workshops. I know some people doubt the use of them. Obviously, they're not meant to be a casting tool, but I think being in front of someone and different people and flexing that muscle, working out like, okay, I'm now auditioning for a piece, being in front of someone who knows who has these in front of them all the time, I find very useful.
What's the doubt?
So some people say it's a bit of a money grabbing thing, because you're paying to go to a workshop, and they're like, are you actually paying to go to an audition? Is it a pay to play thing? I don't think they are. I think it is. It's a nice way of them to be exposed to more people. And whilst a casting director, you're not paying to audition for them, but if they see you a few times and they see what you can deliver, when you actually do audition for them, they can be like, even though they receive your self-tape that isn't quite right, but they've seen you a few more times, they're like, actually, I know he or she can do something else. So rather than disregarding them, I'm going to give them a call back and ask if they can send it like that time I saw them do something else.
Yes, yeah.
But I know a lot of people are, they kind of question ever parting with money for something. They're like, well,
there are a lot of pitfalls.
Yeah, and you don't want to be exploited. There are people that will exploit you, and like you get some really dodgy online. I say you do, like maybe it's anecdotal, but like websites that pose as agencies where you've got to pay them a regular fee to,
or even genuine agents can be quite
really?
dodgy.
Yeah,
I've had some bad experiences over the years. I had one. No, I say I've had one agent with this type of contract. I've had more than one agent with this contract where I've had to, if I wanted to be on their books, then any acting work I get, whether it's through them or not through them,
independently of them,
I'd have to give them a percentage of my income.
Yeah. But then if they're not getting you enough work anyway, and you're having to,
I would agree with that to the point of, if they got me X amount of work and they were getting me X amount of auditions and opportunities, then yes, there is this, they deserve to have some management over my time.
Yeah.
But when I don't agree with it is when they don't get you any auditions, you're not getting any work through them, you get work yourself, and then they want to cut it.
And that feels exploitative. Then.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and I stepped away from an agent when I got a letter from him saying, "Oh, I saw you recently in this film. You must have got at least this much money. So you owe me 20% of that."
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get the amount that he said in the letter.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I was really quite appalled by to receive it after not having any work through him at all. And I would never ever sign up to a contract like that ever again.
And I think because of horror stories and things like that, people do question if I am parting with money for something. Yep. Is it legit? But but at the same time,
who is it really benefiting? Yeah.
But I think you do need to invest in your career and whatever it is. Just like when you go to school or uni or whatever.
Yeah, I think the fitness analogy we started with at the beginning of this is great.
Yeah.
Would you, if you as a sports person, you would invest in going to the gym every month?
Exactly, yeah.
Wouldn't you?
You would,
and you do that, and you probably do that anyway.
Yeah.
So why would you not do that to your craft? Why would you not invest in your craft?
And really good comparison, because because that's what I think it is. It's like just as I do enjoy going to the gym for physical stuff, going to these acting classes, workshops, whatever, work in the mental,
work in the mind, yeah.
And also because I enjoy it as well. Same with the gym. I really enjoy the gym. I really enjoy fitness, and I take it for granted that it's something I enjoy doing. But I have friends who. I sound like I keep saying I've got a friend this, I've got a friend that. It's basically the same pool of like 4 people that I'm talking about. But people who go to the gym half-heartedly now and then, hate it, but they're like, I really should. And like, great, you're going to the gym because you know you should, and and they are keeping themselves fit. But I feel so lucky to enjoy it because it's the same as going to these classes. I'm not going to classes being like, oh, I'm not getting any work, I just need to get better. I'm like, I enjoy turning up. I enjoy learning how to be a better actor. I enjoy perfecting this and being on this journey. And if you enjoy something, it means it's not a chore. It's not a task. I saw an interview with, I think it was John Lithgow, the guy who played, I think, Winston Churchill in The Crown and all that.
Yeah.
And he,
was it the Santa Claus movie?
I think he's been
the bad guy in that. Yeah,
he's been
Third Rock from the Sun.
Yes,
that's the one he's best known for.
He's but he was talking. I think it might have even been like an American college. Like he was a voice of experience giving a talk, and he was saying that if you're an actor and acting is going slow and you're frustrated, find yourself another output for your creativity or for your passion. Find something else that you enjoy that doesn't have an end goal to it. So if it's poetry, you just like writing poetry, go do that. If it's music or playing an instrument, do that. The gym, if you enjoy fitness and you enjoy that, find that something you're passionate about and enjoy doing, so that when acting is slow and acting is not getting you where you want to be, it doesn't matter because you can be excited about this other thing. You can be doing that, and then you can almost lose yourself in that as your passionate thing that you've woken up today. It doesn't matter you've not got an audition to go to. You're looking forward to going to the gym. You're looking forward to going to your violin lesson, whatever. And then actually when an acting job does come up or an audition or something really great, in a way you're almost like, oh, geez, but I'm now going to have to cancel my gym session today because I've got my original passion to do. And having something that you just know that you can fall back on being excited about means that you have somewhere to direct that energy and passion, rather than put all your eggs in one basket. And then I think it's very easy to become unmotivated. Those people I say who have been doing acting for a few months, like, it's just not worth it, I'm going to give it up. Have it there, but be comfortable with just having it bubbling away, and invest your time into something that you can be excited about.
That's superb advice, Tom. I've thought about that a lot over the years of finding that other thing to be excited about, and you can very easily find yourself being lost if you don't have that.
Yeah, and it's why I said at the start I like being busy as well, because there's so much stuff out there in the world, and you're not. If you are just the most uniquely gifted actor in the world and that's all you know and it's all you can do, well, good for you. You're probably going to have a great career. Like, fine. But assuming you're good enough, but like, it's a long journey. There's so many things that you can be passionate about. No, even if your day job, your survival job, isn't something that you like, it doesn't even need to be like a classic thing like the gym or whatever. It could be volunteering, travel, going to see in London, going to pub quizzes, going to stand-up comedy, there are so many things to fill your time and be happy about being able to be in. If the only thing that can make you happy is being cast in a role, you're going to be sad, because 99% of people aren't going to have that as their day-to-day opportunity.
Yeah. And it's not just having it day to day as well, is it? It's this is how you live your life in general. This is good advice for. It's not just about the acting. It's just it's just about your journey through life. So what's next for you then? What's coming up next for you? Is there anything like lined up in the future? How do you look forward?
So I'm working on a short film at the moment, which is fun, and that's a nice creative output. I think because I'm really just enjoying being quite present at the moment. I think because of my old job, you'd always kind of know what the next thing is going to be, or at least you'll have been told what the next thing's going to be, and it would always fall through at the last minute. You'd be like, "Yo, you think you're going here? Actually, you're going here and that." And in the army, you're often not really in control of your own career direction that much.
Yes.
You can try and influence it, but ultimately, if this job pops up and they need you here or there, you do. But
So you've had a long period of your life where someone else has been in control of it.
And also being in an institution as well, like just like I finished uni and then almost straight away went to Sandhurst, like less than a year after graduating uni, and it's to a large extent the army is quite similar to being at uni. You've got your barracks is almost like a campus. Your accommodation is often very much like university accommodation. You've got a bit of a timetable. You know, you probably have your food quite centrally. It's very much like being in a school environment. And now now that I'm not in the army anymore, I think everyone else has probably been feeling this for years, but for me, I just like sometimes when I have an empty weekend or an empty day, I'm like, oh, this is cool. What am I going to do today? Monday to Friday, I'm lucky. I've not had a day since leaving the army where I haven't been in some form of employment, whether it is temping or something. But having the freedom to just be in control of what I like. So I've got a few things. I've got things I'm looking forward to. A few trips I'm looking forward to. I've got a couple of creative things. I'm kind of exploring survival day job options going forward, and I don't want to jinx anything, but there are some things I'm looking at that offer quite good flexibility that I'm trying to pin down. But just being present and able to I don't know if I have any deep philosophical point about it. I'm just actually in a really happy place to not necessarily know. I don't know where exactly I'm going direction wise, but I'm enjoying that and being. It's a level of just contentness that I think I've got. That I might have this happen. I might have that happen. I think I take for granted that I am a motivated person. I don't believe that I'm just going to magically manifest everything's going to be okay. But I think by having an attitude that I can succeed and I do make things happen, even without realizing deliberately. When I think I'm not achieving anything, I'm probably setting the conditions for getting the next job, or I am things that I'm like, well, I've just got to do this, and this class here. Actually, you are lining up opportunities, and it means that because they're part of who I am, when things do pop up as a result of them, it feels quite like just random. But actually, I am forging a career haphazardly in the right direction, and it's just a nice place to be. I very rarely wake up thinking, oh no, what next? But at the same time, I don't wake up being like, this next. I'm just like, okay, well,
this is today.
It's
very hard to get there. Have you got any advice for anyone? Because you're in a very unique position of having come out of the army and going into the creative industry, into acting. Yeah. Have you got any advice for anyone that's wanting to do that, come out of something so structured like the army into this?
I think it is.
World?
I think being busy is a huge part of it, because in the army, I had such little free time. And not just the army, any big institutional, big organization, big corporate organization, even uni, when your time is filled, it's very easy to just be, not to worry, because you don't need to worry about what you're doing tomorrow, because you know what it is. And if time opens up, it will be filled. But it can, if you don't have something to look forward to or to do, it can be quite worrying, and it can be like, oh no, I've got an empty day, and feeling like that's a way. So having things to do, and I say look forward to, it's not like, oh, I can't wait for this, but just knowing that I'm going to be doing this tomorrow, and then in the afternoon this, and then that. But I realize that while saying all this, I actually believe the complete opposite as well. Sometimes having nothing on is the best thing. Oh, I'm going to completely go back on what I said.
That's completely fine, because I think we were allowed to do that as humans. We're allowed to discover and question our own beliefs at times.
I think saying being busy is great, because that's what I've been doing, and I have constantly been busy. I haven't been bored since leaving the army, but it can be a bad habit of constantly, not even a bad habit, but if I look at my calendar, and sometimes I'll have a friend being like, oh, should we meet up for coffee, or should we do this, or should we catch up? And I'll look at my calendar and I'll be like, well, not this weekend, because I'm parachuting that weekend. And then after that, I'm doing this. And then I've got a 100-kilometer race I don't want to do the one after. And then probably a physio appointment the day after that. Constantly. But every now and again, I'll look at my calendar. I've got it on the fridge, like a child, what I'm doing. And I'll get to like Friday or Saturday, and I'll look at the day, and I'm like, oh, I haven't got anything on. And I do panic sometimes, being like, I've got nothing on. I'm not going to achieve anything. But that can be a very refreshing thing to have. So being busy is great. Being busy, keeping your mind occupied, and it makes you feel useful, makes you feel like you're achieving something. Achieving those little things all the time is all progressive. But actually, having time to do nothing can be quite good. And I always feel bad on whenever I do have those times. Not bad, but like on a Monday morning, someone will be like, oh, did you get up to much on a Sunday? You're always doing stuff. And I'll be like, you're wrapping my brains. Like, I must have done something. I must. Yeah. What did I do?
No, I think we've kind of been conditioned to feel like we have to be always striving, and we always have to be working, and we always have to be pushing forward. When in fact it's really important to step back for a moment and take a break and have a moment of nothingness and look around and smell the roses and just take a moment and enjoy just life for what it is for that moment.
I think without just constantly bringing back to like the gym and the fitness comparison, I've now got a really good fitness regime system, stuff that I'm doing. But a really important element of that is rest and having rest days and that. And when I first started going to the gym, I would feel guilty if I missed a day, and I'd be like, oh, I've got to go to the gym like 7 days a week. I can't miss a day. But actually, rest and recuperation is so important to who you are, and and that translates to your job, to acting, to whatever. If you're running on all your cylinders all the time, you can burn out. So being able to take time to chill and relax and unwind can actually mean you're much more re-energized when you go back into it.
Definitely.
But we've also always got, there's always, if you do like being busy and doing and achieving things, there's always little tasks that you don't even realize that you've got to do. So I'll fill up a weekend being like, do this, do that.
But you can go into them harder and stronger having had that break.
100%.
Because everyone will experience burnout.
Yeah. And burnout, and that's the thing I think there are the two extreme ends of the journey and the process is, one, not getting anywhere and just feeling overwhelmed by lack of anything. So people are like, I've got no acting work, what's the point? And then other people where they're like, just go, burnout. I think you've got to stay busy, but you've got to give time for you.
That's great, Tom. There's some great advice coming from you. Some great.
I know, I'm a wise sage.
You've got some great wisdom coming from you from this stage in your career, and I really do hope that you can stay positive with it moving forward.
Oh yeah, but I think being bitter and petty would suit me, so I don't mind being.
No, but I think in this journey of this conversation, I think we've realised there's more to it than just that, isn't there? There is more to this journey for you in this career than just doing it to be better than someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're doing it. You've got a path of discovery in front of you and a path of growth.
And that's what I think. Being reflective, whether it's talking to someone about it or even talking to yourself about it, is an important thing to do. I try to, in all aspects of my life, I do try to be reflective about things, because things aren't always we don't always think what we think. Like sometimes in your brain, you're like, I'm doing this because of this, or I think this or that. But actually, why do I think this? Do I really think this? Questioning yourself can actually be quite a reassuring place to be, because we often don't know what's going on. Often we're much happier than we think we are. If we, maybe I'm not as wise and sage as I thought 5 minutes ago. But yeah, it's good to question and dig into things.
It is, yes. Well, this has been a wonderful chat, Tom.
Oh yeah, no,
I really appreciate it. And maybe as the acting career continues to go forward, maybe we'll come back to this conversation and reflect on it. And
yeah, you said this a year ago. What do you think now?
What do you think now? No, I'd be really interested to hear that.
No, it'd be nice. You've got particularly comfy chairs, so it'll be nice to.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Tom. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice to be here.
That was the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. I appreciate you joining us for this conversation. If you'd like to drop into more conversations, just search the BTS Creative Academy podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And to make sure you don't miss any future episodes, don't forget to like and subscribe.